All right, guys, let's go. We should be live. I just want to quickly test some of the audio here very quickly. I To give a little bit of background, I've been getting into Streamlabs, OBS. It's where I record a lot of stuff, and I just wanted to do it in there, but I was having some issues, and then I just wanted to go live. Oh, my guy, Omega, dude, welcome back. Hope you're doing well, dude. And yeah, no, this was it going live. I've been trying to get more into streaming and put like a cool filter in the background and blur everything. Unfortunately, it didn't really work out in that regard. So you're seeing what my setup currently is. Just give me a thumbs up if the audio sounds good. I did take a quick look, and it does sound pretty decent. So with that, we're gonna dive into it. And if anyone else jumps into the chat, uh, let me know and say what up. And I want to make this as fun as possible because I think today was a great day for the Giants. Omega, dude, I hope you're doing well, man. Um, did you see the DB at Darius Washington to the Giants 1 year contract? I'm glad you brought it up. Let's dive into all of it. And where we're going to get started is at the top. And I have some of my notes that I wanted to talk through. I wanted to do um I was thinking about doing a more concrete video on all of this stuff, and then you know what? I got to the point where I was like, "Let's just set up. Let's do a live stream." I've been dealing with the kiddos all weekend. Obviously, it's my job as a dad, but my wife just got back from her trip and got a little workout in to get the blood flowing, juices pumping, and I said, "You know what? Let's just do a live stream tonight, even though it's kind of getting into my bedtime hours." So with that, there was a lot to be excited about. And where we're going to get started is obviously talking about the huge signing of Isaiah Likely for 3 years, approximately $40 million, coming over from the Ravens, following in the footsteps of John Harbaugh making his tenure. So, yeah, Wandell legally robbed the Titans. Yeah, I'll definitely touch on that in a little bit. I want to talk about all the guys that came. Likely a great pickup, especially for the money. Yeah, so I think it was like almost like 13 million per year, something along those lines. And looking back at what happened, let's go back a little bit in time here and touch on in 2024 season. He played in all 16 games, 42 receptions, 477 yards with a career high 6 touchdowns. That was him splitting time with Mark Andrews. In a little bit of a timeshare, but they did a good job of using both of those players. And you can make an argument that they're more than just tight ends in that Ravens offense. So I think what we're going to see, and then obviously last season with Isaiah Likely, he was a little bit more, I would say, injury prone. Um, Played in 14 games, 7 starts, only 27 receptions, 307 yards, and a touchdown. So he missed a lot of time. No Pro Balls, no All Pros. Um, and he's getting paid 13, I think like 13-ish million a season for a year, 40 mil with 3 incentives up to 47. So I think, the thing with Isaiah Likely and why I think he came at this point in time, obviously, right, there's a connection between John Harbaugh and him. And really, you saw a little bit of like a PR all offseason so far where he was talking about I was just constantly seeing clips of Isaiah Likely on podcasts discussing how much he loves John Harbaugh, loves what the Giants were doing. So I think his agent did a very good job of putting him in front of the right places, saying the right things. And, I do want to see him bounce back and be successful after being a little bit injured last season. But I think he has a totally bright future for the Giants to be a key player, especially in this offense. So let's talk about it. You have Scattaboo coming off the ankle injury, splitting time with Tyron Tracy Jr., Singletary coming back. Neighbors going to be rehabbing the ACL, coming back off that. Slayton's going to be playing. There's rumors of Tyquan Thornton. We'll talk about that towards the end. And then you're looking at Theo Johnson was the only other person at tight end because Ballinger left today, and then they re-signed Chris Manhertz. So bringing in Isaiah Likely is an amazing situation because he's going to play in a multitude of different roles. He's going to be playing in a slot, but much differently than Wandell would play, right? As a slot wide receiver. There's a notable size difference between the two of them. but I think it's great because they'll be able to use him in the run game, the pass game, and they're still gonna be able to use Theo Johnson as well. And, yeah, Omega, to your point, like, it sucks we couldn't afford Linderbaum, but I think he just got paid the most amount a center has ever been paid in the history of the NFL. And I was looking at, like, a ranking that had Tyler Linderbaum getting $27 million a year from the Raiders. Then the next highest paid was Creed Humphrey from the Chiefs at like 18 million. So there was a huge gap between those two. So shout out to Linderbaum's agent getting that done. You usually don't, yeah. I mean, he reset the center market, but see if other teams, do that. I mean, I guess, but that is when you're going to sign someone, you want them to be 26 years old, you want them to be in their prime, you want them to have not missing any time for injuries, and you want them to continue to, be on that track. And honestly, at first I wanted to hate on it because it's like, look at the Raiders, give them $27 million to a center. But you know what the Raiders need is help on the offensive line. And they're getting a veteran leader in Lindenbaum, and they're going to draft a quarterback. Mendoza is going to be the first quarterback off the board. So it's not that bad of a move by the Raiders paying this guy who's going to be able to call out the fronts, call out the protection every single play, and also make holes for Ashton Jinty. They've invested highly in him in last year's draft, right? So um, I think it's a better move for the Raiders than initially thought, and a lot of people shit on it, but I th and it is overpaying for center, but I think it's a smart move for the Raiders, to get started on talking about Lindenbaum and Isaiah Likely. So, I really like how Isaiah Likely is gonna fall into this offense, get a big target, as you said, in the slot. They're gonna take advantage of him, and John Harbaugh knows what he needs to do to get the most out of him. So I'm interested to see how the Giants utilize him. But again, more weapons for Jackson Dart, paying people now because you have a quarterback on a rookie contract. And Jackson Dart it's made everyone better. But Isaiah Likely, another option coming in here, is a good move. It's a great sign for Jackson Dart. And here's also the thing at 13.5 million or whatever it was per season. Yeah. Malik and Likely vertically. Yeah, it'd be nice to see the ball get thrown on the field. But with these options, this is what they needed for Dart now. And with Likely, they work. John Harbaugh has a relationship with him. He's comfortable with him. He didn't want to go sign someone random because they overpay for wide receivers. The Giants just overpaid for Darius Slayton, and that was a guy on their team. Wandell Robinson got overpaid by the Titans, right? Free agency for wide receivers is a joke, and the Giants got one of the top tight ends that can also kind of line up in a vertical threat, as you mentioned, role. So I like it. I think it's a non-traditional move. You'd love to get a wide receiver, but there's not good wide receivers in free agency, um, for the most part. I mean, Mike Evans just signed with the 49ers, and there are tons of funny memes about that. But anything else we want to talk about with Isaiah Likely, and we'll talk more about some other stuff. With Wandell's, what does it say? Tarnish basically throwing the ball in the grass. I'd rather go high than low. Um, yeah, no, I agree. What did I have next up on this list to dive into was inside linebacker Tremaine Edmunds, at 3 years, 36 million. Major addition to replace the void after releasing Bobby Okereke. Absolutely love this move. Just trying to figure out where I had his stats here. So 2024, he had 120 tackles. And then it was kind of like his typical production. 2025 season coming from the Chicago Bears, 13 games, 112 tackles, 4 interceptions, 9 pass deflections, and 1 sack, two-time Pro Bowler. One of the more athletic linebackers in the NFL, going to be a centerpiece on this defense. Monster upgrade at middle linebacker after they released Bobby Okereke, saving the $9 million a season. Micah McFadden, I think, had to be re-signed on a bit of a prove it deal. Not exactly sure how what they've done for that so far. I don't think they've signed him yet. But again, McFadden was coming off like that broken foot or whatever he had early in the season. So who knows how he's going to look? And yeah, I mean, I guess a prove it deal is fine for him, but now you immediately increased the value of this run defense with the new defensive coordinator. This was a very good move. How old is Tremaine Edmunds? I think he's maybe 27, 6'5", 250. Holy crap. Virginia Tech. I can't find his age, but 1998. So he's probably like 27 or something. But no, it's an unbelievable great move bringing him in. And it immediately elevates the run defense, which has been bottom of the barrel for the last 2 seasons. We've seen how bad that they are and can be. um, Next up, Omega was your boy that you just mentioned, or Darius Washington, the safety. I might have missed this one. I also had a dentist appointment today, so I was running around, driving around, looking at my phone, blowing up, and I'm like, "Did someone just die? How do I have all these text messages?" And then it's like, "Oh, they sound likely they cut Jamie Gillen, blah, blah, blah." I'm like, "Oh my god." Um, so let's talk about Darius Washington. He was from Baltimore as well. Uh, Texas TCU, Horned Frogs. Sorry, I probably gotta keep it down because all my kids are sick and I hear them, making some noise. So for a one-year contract, I don't know exactly what that was, but 2025, played in 4 games, 7 tackles, 1 sack, 1 forced fumble. So I don't know, does he rotate in or was he hurt last year? I gotta look into a little bit more. I think I missed the whole conversation about when this happened earlier today. I'm just catching up here. And then 2024 season, he started in 10 games, played in all 17, 64 tackles, 1 sack, 2 interceptions, 8 pass breakups, and 1 forced fumble. Undrafted and became a legitimate starter for the Ravens in 2024, signed to a 1-year deal. Yeah. Um, I don't think that means that they wouldn't draft, a safety like Caleb Downs. If the Giants really wanted someone like Caleb Downs at 5, I don't think this really changes things, even though you kind of just paid him. The thing with the Giants secondary is they need bodies. When guys would go down this last season, it's like you got Corey Black out there, and you're like, he's getting torched. Practice squad guys getting torched. It's like, let's get some more NFL caliber guys signed to this team in this locker room, especially in the secondary, where, as we've seen, guys going down left and right. Um, like the only one who played probably, well, Cordell Flott played a lot last year, but he's gone now. And Deontay Banks, you have to watch him play and fail every week. I like Sonny Styles at 5. Yeah, Omega. I like that at 5 as well, especially if they're not gonna re-sign McFadden, and Sonny Styles is there. He is a legitimate weapon and freak. I did a video about him the other day, talking about him and his combine that he did. I don't know if you got a chance to check it out, but it was really cool. He's a freak specimen. His brother is too. And then his dad is as well. Like the photos of both of him and his brother with his dad, I was like, someone commented like, "Can his dad play for us too?" I was like, "Looks like it for sure." So I like the additional move there, bringing in Darius Washington. The next up is the Giants making a punter, the highest paid punter in the NFL, and Jordan Stout coming over from Baltimore, 3 years, 12.3 million, highest paid punter in the NFL. I'm going to be ecstatic about this. I like McFadden, but he'll be okay with us keeping him at a minimum. Yep, I agree with you. Yeah, keep him on a low contract and make him earn it. And hey, if McFadden does and he bounces back, great, resign him. you know, Hopefully that's the case. But or Sonny Styles too. But talking about Jordan Stout and the punter situation, we've seen year over year Jamie Gillen coming, and even before then, it was guys that Riley Dixon. The Giants haven't had a consistent good punter in so long, and Jamie Gillen, the Scottish Hammer, was so bad, man. Watching him play, there was no consistency to his game. And yeah, Scottish Hammer, he could kick it as far as he can, but it's not there's no touch to it. He's never coughing, cornering anything. It's just blasted into the back of the end zone, or worse off, he just shanks it 20 yards and the Giants accomplished nothing, and it would be a total disaster scenario. So I'm so glad Jamie Gillen is gone. That's something that just needed to happen. And they replaced him with one of the best guy who almost, is at his position in the NFL. So I think it's a huge upgrade and something that we might not really, see right now. And it's like, oh, the Giants made a punter the highest. That's their big signing. The Giants signed a punter. It's like, shut up. I don't want to hear it. It's a good move. And you're gonna see it pay dividends when, you got a punt and it's not gonna be a 20-yard shank. And then you're putting your defense in an impossible situation, which Jamie Gillen did for a very long time. Up next, let's talk about the re-signings. So the big one, right, at right tackle, our boy Jermaine Illuminor coming back 3 years, 39 million with 26 million guaranteed. This was a move that had to be done, is shoring up the offensive line. And let's go back a couple years in time so we could set up about what we're going to talk about now. Like 2 years ago, you had Daniel Jones getting destroyed to the tune of like 80 something sacks in a season. We have seen and we've gotten through some of the worst offensive line play in the history of this franchise. And last year, the Giants did an amazing job. Andrew Thomas looked great. Jermaine Illuminor, even though he does get dinged up and misses time here and there, still looks pretty damn good. One of the best right tackles in the NFL. And the Giants just re-signed him. So it's a key move to bring him back. Um, Let me just finish up my one thing about Illuminor and then we'll talk about it. But this was a key move. They needed to bring him back because of Jackson Dart being so young and having an offensive line that is somewhat capable for the run game to give a young quarterback time as well is something that cannot be understated or undervalued. So I'm glad the Giants did it, figured out whatever the cost was to do it. Um, because if it got to the open market, right? Here's the scenario: there's not many like offensive linemen that are capable and available on the open market, and guys are getting paid, overpaid left and right. The Giants, look at the video I posted this morning about James Hudson. That was a Joe Shane pick for like a signing for like $6 million a season. That's how desperate people are to have any sort of semblance of guys who might be able to play offensive line in the NFL. And the Giants keeping around Illuminor, I think, is an absolute no-brainer. Now you're up to next. What do you do at right guard? What do you do at left guard? Is John Michael still your guy at center? I'm not supposed to be upset that Flott is gone. I'm more happy Illuminor is back than losing Flott. Um, Flott was good, man. He played. I can't believe he was only 24 years old. When I saw that, I was like, "Damn, he would have been good to keep around, homegrown giant." The Giants have a propensity to let homegrown talent, when it is good and strong, just walk right out the door. And I think he should have been a little bit more prioritized considering who else is there. Paulson Adebo they paid for, doesn't really play. Didn't play much last year. Didn't even play the year before that when he was on the Saints. Deontay Banks can't play in the NFL. He can play what a kick returner now because he got banished there because they have no one else. Um, so I think Flott would have been huge to come back, but yeah, but those were my two biggest concerns. I think we were looking at all of the Giants free agents that were unrestricted to leave. It was Flott, Illuminor, and Wandell. The Giants were never gonna open up the bag for Wandell because they had paid Slayton the year before, so they had already put enough money into that, and it sucks that they did that, but there's too much dead cap space associated with Slayton. On the flip side of things, you can't have the offensive line go back to the way it was 2 or 3 years ago, after one good season and then hope and pray for the best because we know how that works out for us. So resigning Illuminor and had to be the number one priority on my list, followed by Flott because the Giants haven't really had anyone else at cornerback that can play, let alone play for 15 plus games a season and not get crushed in the process. So it sucks losing someone like that. What else? Flott's contract with the Giants is basically done. But the Titans came in a last minute offer. Yeah, I think I saw something about that. Um, yeah, and I saw at Rational Giants takes on X screaming, and someone responded back to him, being like, "This is not a rational Giants take." But hey, kudos to him. And here's the thing with the NFL: there's no loyalty whatsoever. I feel like though, back in the day when we were kids growing up, guys really wanted to play for certain teams, and there was some sort of like, I don't know, allegiance to your home, grown team. Um, I guess obviously it's gone because guys need to make as much as they can. Um, Belton's gone too. He's going to the Jets. Whatever. What else do I have? Isaiah Hodgins coming back on a 1-year deal, depth receiver returning to the roster. So he, my thing that I want to say about uh, Wandell Robinson, or I want to say about Isaiah Hodgins and Gunnar Olszewski is I want to see them get some time in camp. If there's no one else there that can play, and if Isaiah Hodgins is better than Darius Slayton, let him play. If Gunnar Olszewski is better than whoever they bring in at slot receiver, even if it's Tyquan Thornton, or if it's someone else that they pay or draft in like a second or third or fourth round, and Gunnar Olszewski is better than him, let him play. We have to win now with who's ever here to do it. And I don't think Gunnar Olszewski and Isaiah Hodgins are going to help you win a Super Bowl if they're your starting wide receivers. I mean, that's not what I'm saying. But I think if they're better than who is either drafted or was paid, and they're better than them, let them play. Let them get earn it. Because at the end of last season, when they did play, I thought they played pretty damn well. And you could say, oh, well, we should have lost those games because we needed a better draft pick, blah, blah, blah. You're still got to get someone good anyway. So Singletary took a salary cut to stay, which tells me he loves being with the Giants, or there was no market for him. Um, yeah, it's probably easier to restructure and stay in New Jersey than to have to sell your house and pick up your family and move, right? That's why guys don't mind when they got to go from the Jets to the Giants, right? And yeah, I posted a video this morning, and I talked about Gunnar Olszewski, I talked about Singletary, I talked about Hudson, and I talked about Chris Manhertz. And that was a video that I wanted to do on Friday. I actually did the whole thumbnail for the video on Friday, and then one of my buddies hit me up, was like, "You wanna play PGA, the video game?" I haven't spoke to him in a while, so he's like, "Yeah, let's play for a little," and then next thing you know, I'm like, "Oh, shit." Saturday goes by, Sunday goes by, didn't have time to record anything. Then I just did it at, like, 8:30 this morning, banged it out, and posted it, where I talked a little bit more in detail about Devin Singletary and stuff. But, you know, Devin Singletary restructuring was probably more of a realistic scenario than them cutting him and then drafting Jeremiah Love at 5, or trading or signing Kenny Walker on a premium contract where he's due to probably make the highest amount that he's going to get at his value, which would have pissed me off if the Giants open up the book for Kenny Walker and they refuse to do it to for Saquon. That just would have felt like bullshit to me. And yeah, I think on my priority list, Omega was running back was at the bottom of the list because you got Scatman coming back, rehabbing, doing it all of his physical therapy to come back for next season. Tyrone Tracy Jr., I'm the biggest Tyrone Tracy Jr. fan. I probably could show you my card collection. I've been hammering the Tyrone Tracy Jr. rookie autographs. And so of course I'm like, of course I've just been buying so many of his cards, and now they're gonna be worthless because they signed Kenny Walker or draft Jeremiah Love. But there's something to be said about, I don't think the Giants were gonna do that, but there was so much smoke there. There was so much smoke. And then sometimes we know When there's smoke, there is fire. Big question is, where do you stand with Kayvon? So I did a video about this the other week about Kayvon Thibodeau. It was probably one of my funnest thumbnails that I made for a video. Um, because I tried to mimic it a little bit like, and go check out the thumbnail. You don't have to watch a video if you don't want to watch a video, whatever. But let me know what you think of the thumbnail. I thought it was awesome. Because I love like Heath Ledger and the Joker and Dark Knight and those movies. And I remember seeing like a photo of the Joker, and it had all these words around him. And I tried to mimic it a little bit. I probably didn't do the best job of it. I probably could have used a little bit of a better photo and edited it more, but I thought it was cool to put the words around him that, everyone was kind of thinking about, and especially highlighting, trade, right? So if they could do a deal with Kayvon for a wide receiver like Brian Thomas Jr. to the Jaguars, I would do that trade tomorrow. Why not? Because with Kayvon right now, he is kind of on the outskirts. And I spoke about this in the video, but he really has no one to blame for his play, kind of but himself, right? He's been on the team for a long period of time. He's been insanely inconsistent. He's But he does have those moments, and you look at him and you're like, wow, this guy looks Kayvon's finally here. He's playing amazing. And then 4 or 5 weeks goes by, you haven't heard his name called at all, and you're like, is five out there? Like, what is he? I haven't heard Kayvon Thibodeau's name in weeks after he had 3 sacks against Commanders and had a forced fumble recovery. And so he's just I don't know. And my thing with him is, he always puts out the right things. He wants to say he's working on his wrestling this offseason so he could take down quarterbacks better. But he's had every opportunity. You're lining up across from Brian Burns. Brian Burns makes no excuses when he had whatever 14 sacks a season or whatever he finished with. Um, and Kayvon was drafted at 5 overall. I don't think he's really lived up to that. And yeah, I don't know if he thinks that either. It's tough to say. I will say from like some insider information that I've had with people on the Giants and asked about Kayvon Thibodeau specifically, they did say he's a little weird. I don't really, and tried to probe a little bit more about like, what do you mean weird? Like it's like the last time he's doing, and he'll give like a weird answer. But I guess like a lot of these guys too, like coming out of like the NIL deals and just being like drafted in the top 10, you're not like a normal human being that could sit around and have conversations. But I don't know. That's really, you know, the only real insider conversation that I had had with anyone about Kayvon. But when he does show up when these guys wear these outfits, when they do their little walks into the stadium, he's always dressed like he's almost like a new age outlaw or like some sort of WWF character. So I don't know. I mean, to my point there, and to answer your question in a very long-winded response, is I totally fine to trade him. If they can't find a trade suitor, let him play out this contract and then see how he does. Obviously, we know when guys are in a contract year with the Giants, they always do very well and they make the decision harder. Look at what just happened with Flott. Look at what just happened with Wandell. Did that happen 2 years ago when they weren't in contract seasons? No. So it would be funny. It would be very funny if Kayvon Thibodeau has like a 13 sack season in a contract year. Because then you're going to be like, oh, should we bring him back? Especially, but I do think this is going to be Abdul Carter's defense. And if you take someone like Sonny Styles or Caleb Downs and you pair another freak into that defense and you get some young stud ballers out there, it's gonna be fun, man. I'm telling you. That's why I think people wanted to come to the Giants. That's why John Harbaugh took this job, is because they're not as far away as you might think. And their record, how many games did they lose last year by just a few bed shittings on defense, and that's fixable. Bed shittings on defense are fixable. Jackson Dart played well with no help on offense. He played what? A quarter and a half with Malik Neighbors when he tore his ACL against the Chargers. Like the season's so long, we forget, but like little things like that happened. And then a couple weeks later, Scatman gets his leg snapped in half against the Eagles. How many games did they playing together? 4 or 5? But yeah, I'm interested to see Kayvon coming back. It will be they can't find a suitor for him. It would be nice if they could trade Kayvon for a wide receiver, like I think Brian Thomas would be a good fit, but again, that's just all speculation. Probably, I don't even know the Brian Thomas. I've seen his name a lot today. He might have actually got traded or signed somewhere else. But I thought the Jaguars liked him, so I don't know. But yeah, we've talked about a lot. We're getting on a half hour here. This is actually pretty fun for 10:48 at night, which is getting past my bedtime. What else did I have on here? Just going through my notes. Yeah, man. Today was a good day, I think, for the future of Giants football. I guess I didn't really talk. Did I talk too much about the guys that had left? Wandell Robinson going to the Titans. It is funny because Dayball goes to the Titans. He takes Daniel Bellinger. He takes Wandell Robinson. And I saw a funny tweet that was like, "Wow, Brian Dable's bringing all the guys that helped get him fired to his new team." And I will say, I was also a huge Daniel Bellinger fan. Daniel Bellinger did so much in his rookie season. If you go back, I think it was the 2022 year, or was he a rookie? I think 2022 he was a rookie, but he was having a really strong season, and then he broke his orbital, um, which was crazy because in football, you don't really see people break their eye socket. It happens in UFC and mixed martial arts and boxing. It happens in basketball when guys get elbowed in the eye, and you don't really see a guy break his orbital when he's wearing a face mask. So that was a weird injury that happened for Daniel Bellinger, and they never really got back to that feeling of comfortability with him where they would allow him to, you know, be a true tight end. He never got that chance again, which was a little bit odd, I think. So maybe he gets that with the Titans. I don't know what their tight end situation is there. It wasn't the same after the eye injury. Yeah, that's crazy. Someone put a hand in his face mask. Yeah, that was crazy. I think that was like my first or second year on the channel. I wasted so much time. No one watched this video, and I made a sick edit of Daniel Bellinger as the Mandalorian, and I called him the Daniel Lorian, and he had like the Mandalorian from Star Wars like mask on his head with the black visor. I don't think anyone saw that. I did a lot of time doing thumbnails in that time period. Like, I don't think I've looked at Brian Dable or Daniel Jones's face, or, like, anyone's face, like, as much as I looked at theirs that season. There's some good ones there, though. Still need a center. Yeah, I agree. I mean, but John Michael, like, he's their center. Kelsey even said Bellinger would be the next best tight end. Yeah, I don't know why the Giants really didn't like Bellinger for whatever reason, but they finished talking about Wandale. He's getting 19 and a half per year. Um, yeah, that's a lot for a slot wide receiver. But here's the thing. I actually like that a lot for the Titans because that is another weapon in an offense for Cam Ward where if you watched any of those Titans games or clips, like he had Joe Shit the Ragman running around out there for him. There really wasn't much. And I think Wandell is a strong safety blanket who can get downfield. We saw a lot of that last season, right? He had over 1,000 yards. But even in those short sort of slot screen or like RPO type scenarios where it's a bubble route by the wide receiver, he's really masterful in that. And I think that adds another weapon for the Titans in their offense. So I think it was a good, should be a good move for them, honestly, because Cam Ward needs help and bodies. Bellinger's getting 8 to 9 million. Is he actually really? He was never gonna what? He would never get that. You wouldn't even do that in Madden. Cordell Flott went 3 for 45, 32 million guaranteed. Um, wow, wow, yeah, you're right. The Titans gave Daniel Bellinger 3 years, 24 million. Um, wow, that's crazy. 3 years, 24 million, 8, 16, 24, so 8 million a year. That's crazy. I would not imagine that being the scenario. If the Giants paid Daniel Bellinger $8 million a year before the likely thing, I probably would have been like, I'm not a fan of this move, even though I like Bellinger. I just don't think you pay your backup tight end that money. But as you see, some of these organizations and franchises are more than willing to try and spend now when you have rookie quarterbacks that aren't making the bag yet, try and build a team around them. So, what else you got? Yeah, this is all I really had envisioned for the show tonight, um, which I thought was good. I hope the audio was good. Yeah, I need to figure out my other software, but this is fun. If Styles isn't there at 5, yeah, it's gonna be, do you take Downs or Tate? It's crazy because how many Ohio State guys are trying to go, top 10 in this draft? Because the other guy, Averell Reese, is supposed to go 2 overall, right? So let me just pull up Tankathon here, and we can look at a mock draft. Fernando Mendoza going to the Raiders, Avril Reese to the Jets, Francis Mauigoa. I definitely butchered that name. To the Cardinals at 3. The O tackle from Miami, who I could have kind of been into if they didn't bring back Illuminor. And then you get Jeremiah Love at 4 to the Titans. I don't know. That could happen. But is Jeremiah Love the 4th best player off the board? I don't know. That's very intriguing. You get Cam Ward, Jeremiah Love. I'd be starting to be feeling good if I was a Titans fan about the future. And then, yeah, this tankathon has Sonny Styles at 5. Ooh, boy. That'd be fun. So our scenario is if Sonny Styles is not there at 5, what should the Giants do? Well, as you mentioned, Caleb Downs, the safety from Ohio State, has been linked with the Giants pretty significantly. John Harbaugh has also drafted more recently amazing uh, safeties for the Ravens, mm, coming from a culture where he had Ed Reed and then Kyle Hamilton from Notre Dame. So there could be a very plausible scenario where the Giants take Caleb Downs at 5 overall. And I think that's an immediate upgrade on defense with a day one starter. So I'd be pretty excited if they took Caleb Downs. Now there was a little bit of a report talking about, he has something with his knees or whatever, and he didn't do the combine, which is like, I hope guys, I hope guys always do the combine. I don't know. I'm like a sucker for that. The stupid drills that, I don't think an offensive lineman needs to do a 40-yard dash, but it's still fun to watch. Like that guy, one guy with a mullet and his hair just flowing in the wind. That was great. Um, and then to your other point, do you take a wide receiver at 5 overall between Carnell Tate, the other guy, Makai Lemon from USC, and then the other wide receiver from Arizona State, who also did not perform in the combine, would be Jordan Tyson. And I think the Giants do need a wide receiver, clearly. And I'm not trusting Neighbors. I love Neighbors and I want him to be as successful as possible, but I'm not trusting anyone coming off an ACL. Daniel Jones, tough bounce back year after an ACL. Wandell Robinson, tough bounce back year after he tore his ACL against the Lions that time. Saquon, tough bounce back year after an ACL. It's not easy to really come back, especially when you're in a very prolific position that requires your speed. And that's not to say he can't get it back the year after. I'm just saying it comes with time. And these first 2 seasons have been very injury prone for Malik Neighbors that I don't want to say I don't think I think Giants fans will turn on him if it's a slow start and he doesn't look great. I don't know. I hope we don't turn on him, but I could see the scenario where he doesn't look like shit. He's not the same since before the injury, even though he's was very oft injured these first 2 years. So we need him to be good. Um, and then again, it goes back to what I was saying before. After this season, Malik Neighbors has his comeback year this year. Then after that, the next season is after that a contract year if they don't like opt into the 5-year thing. So could be then you start seeing even if they opt in for the 5th year, then you're gonna have Malik Neighbors playing as high level football as humanly possible, I think. So if they don't think Neighbors is playing or gonna be that ready to have an impact this season, and Darius Slayton is gonna be on the team, sucks. Gunnar Olszewski, whatever. Isaiah Hodgins, whatever. Um, Tyquan Thornton does not raise any sort of bar for me for this offense. Then I'm totally fine with taking Carnell Tate or Jordan Tyson or Makai Lemon at 5. The best one of that bunch, I don't know. I don't think they're any of them are that great per se. I don't have like a favorite of the bunch, but if Tate's the number one guy off the board that is consensus that everyone says, then I'm fine with that because whoever they do take would have to start, you know, week 1. I wouldn't also be opposed to if they didn't bring back Illuminor, I wouldn't be I would take the fucking best tackle off the board. Or, I mean, it's probably hard for them to justify drafting an edge rusher like Ruben Bain or something, but because you just took Abdul Carter and you're paying Brian Burns whatever 30 million a season. So I don't know. I don't know what they're gonna do, but there's a lot more holes to be filled. So let's wrap this bitch up. I think the Giants made some good moves today. I think they're just a start. And I think this is the start again. The next chapter has begun with John Harbaugh. And then this is the first version of that chapter coming out in real time. It's the beginning of free agency and getting some guys left that you might have wanted to keep around. They've taken lucrative offers from other teams, but that's just business. That's life in the big city. And we wish them well, but now we got to move forward with what we got. And, people that shit on you sign guys. You signed a punter. You signed a tight end and you're getting excited. Yeah, I am getting excited My team just got 1% better than they were the day before. If you're not excited too, then why are you even a fan? Just because you want to shit on something? But I don't want to end on a negative note. So with that, I think to my point, what I just said before, the Giants got 1% better. And that makes me happy. And I think it should make you happy too as we progress throughout this offseason. And we're not, out of moves. We just got a middle linebacker. He's a stud who, by all means, this was a great deal for the Giants. People had him getting paid for much more. So I see more good signings coming. Day two and coming. Couldn't agree with you more, Omega. Well, thanks for joining. Have a great rest of your week. And if they make some big moves, maybe I'll do this again later this week. This is much easier to do than editing a video and cutting it down and whatnot. But yeah, let's keep our fingers crossed and remain optimistic as always. Have a good night, dude. Take care. Average Bob out.